Welcome to the Founders Forum podcast, brought to you by the Foxwell Founders, where we interview some of the hottest minds in D2C right now and deep dive on their area of expertise. Everyone that we interview here is a cherished member of our Foxwell Founders community of over 550 advertisers worldwide and are at the cutting edge of what is working right now. I hope you enjoy this, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Andrew at Foxwell Digital. And now let's get stuck into this week's episode. Here are Edwin and Tris, our hosts.
Three best ways that we've ever seen to deal with this is
it's one of the things that's working really, really well for our agency right now.
Question of the week, right?
He's going to spill all the tea on TikTok for us. What is the oh wow strategy of the moment? If it's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Who buys it even at that time, right? Hi guys, welcome to episode 14 of Foxwell Founders Forum. We're here this week with Will Satoris, who is the CEO of SelfMade. So they generate AI personas and performance creatives for Meta and TikTok. And we want to hear everything there is to do with when it comes to creative and when it comes to just generally what's working out there right now. So welcome, Will. Thanks for coming along. Edwin, do you want to kick us off with your first question?
Just hot off the presses, I want to hear it from you, Will, because you are with AI all the time. Meta just did this huge AI update. Tell us about it and tell us how are you using it?
Yeah, for sure. So, haven't had the opportunity to test it out just yet, but it's certainly an exciting change. And I think, especially with catalog and dynamic product ads, like this is going to make a material difference. Just for context now, and I believe everyone should have it by the end of the year, but you can go in, upload a photo, and then Meta can optimize your background for that photo. So you can, if you had a water bottle or a coffee cup, you can say, I want this coffee cup in the rainforest, or I want this coffee cup, on a ski slope, whatever it may be. So that's one big component that is going to definitely drastically change sort of the equation in terms of generating statics. And, even in the past year, 2 years, we've seen a lot of Gen AI startups trying to do exactly this. So Meta is really getting ahead of the curve here. Having this additional functionality is really going, in my opinion, going to just flood the market with a lot of statics. Probably we'll see, CPMs climb there, but in general, it's going to give brands much more of an opportunity to test a fair amount more. And then I also think, a big component of this is also going to be like sort of headline and description testing. The ability to test numerous different headlines against top performers, descriptions against top performers. Generally speaking, a lot of performance creative agencies, ourselves included, aren't writing the headlines or the descriptions. So this will give brands a tool in their arsenal to come up with a plethora of a plethora of headlines and descriptions to test out to determine, okay, we have our winner here. We should be using this winner with X, Y, and Z creatives.
Right. Absolutely. And so just on that then, so you're creating creative from before, and that's obviously, being fed into Meta. So you're talking about a flood of influx of statics and so on, but specifically talking about AI. So you guys must have been doing something similar to this for a while with Midjourney, ChatGPT, this kind of thing. How does that differ from those, or is this something that Meta has got in platform now that you can start to just click one button and away you go?
Yeah, so this will be in platform, and so it'll be at the ad creative level itself. So you're going to be able to go in, select this AI feature within the ad creative. Assuming you have a great image of your product, all you have to do is upload that image, and then you prompt how you want this image to be backfilled. So nice. It'll generally generate 6 to 12, I believe, variations of that. And so you can sort of, pick and choose the ones you actually want to test. And again, like there are a handful of companies that are doing this already. We've seen Suna really lean into this sort of AI image generation with the photographs that they shoot in-house. But like having this as a tool in the toolkit will really enable a handful of brands to generate statics at a scale that they weren't able to do so previously.
And so you are working with AI personas on
Correct.
Meta, and so I have no idea what that means. tell me, tell me what it means, and how do I make money off of that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And really anyone can do this. The data is
Okay.
out there.
Okay.
So what we do for any client is we'll have a first meeting and the client will say, these are our personas we like to focus on, like these are
Yeah.
USPs, etc. And then we say, okay, that's great. But like let us actually collect some data and sort of confirm your biases or sort of say we should be testing these new personas.
Okay.
So what we do is we collect, we pick 3 to 5 brands within the vicinity of your brand competitors. And what we'll do is we'll collect all their reviews from Trustpilot, the website. We use a tool called GigaBrain. You can search your brand on GigaBrain, and that will allow you to pull all the subreddits that mention your brand or your competitors' brands.
For better or for worse.
For better or for worse. Who knows how long until Reddit takes down GigaBrain, but it's great. We recently started working with a company called Brandwise, and with Brandwise, you can download a CSV of Facebook comments. So you have all this plethora of data for your brands and your competitors' brands. So then what we'll do is we'll create a custom GPT for all of our clients and input all of this data. And through a series of prompting, and we just have like an automatic prompting system, we can determine like what your key motivators are, what your key values are, and what your key pain points are. And then also, what your customers' frustrations are, their irritations, and sort of their points of no return. And that's always great for our strategists to say, these are the components we should be focusing on the ad. But what the most important component of this is are the AI personas themselves. So we have sort of 2 batches. We have the evergreen personas. So these are the folks that are buying from your brand again and again. So, for example, you could, going back to coffee, these could be, the caffeine addict would be a persona, right? And like that would be the angle to test. So we will generate 4 verticalized evergreen personas, and then we'll also generate 4 sort of what we call like diamond in the rough personas. So what does that mean? These are folks that have used your product in a specific use case, but they haven't necessarily used it, or more, sort of go back for a second. They have used your product in a use case that you haven't necessarily advertised towards. So, for example, we work with a company that sells meal kits, and you can boil the water 5 minutes, the meal's ready. And generally, we're speaking to, folks that have no time between meetings, but there's a specific use case about camping. And they're like, oh, I brought this out camping and like it made my life so much easier. This was like sort of, again, like a diamond in the rough. Only one person mentioned it. You're like, oh, so maybe we should be testing top of funnel ads for this sort of persona. So generally we'll come up with, 4 of these verticalized diamonds in the rough persona to test top of funnel ads. And then with the evergreen personas, we're doing full funnel approaches because we know that these folks have purchased from your brand in the past. They'll continue purchasing from your brand. So it allows us to have a handful of evergreen concepts as well as plenty of new top of funnel concepts to test on an ongoing basis.
So does this make, so I'm going to ask you the very blunt question. Does this make money? Like, have you seen the needle move past what, past the regular stuff when you're doing the regular exercises and you build the personas, back like the Flintstones versus now with AI and this wild stuff? Does it move the needle?
Definitely. Yeah, it has improved our hit rate, immensely. And I think with the evergreen personas, like candidly, like that has been great because like that allows us to, first month or 2 to generate concepts that we are pretty confident are going to work.
Give me numbers. Give me numbers here. Like what are we talking about when you say move the needle? Like what, like ballpark? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, we're targeting, obviously above a 1% CTR, above a 2 ROAS, and above a 20% thumb stop. So like if we're not getting that, we're iterating. And so the evergreen personas off the bat, but then also something we found like in our early days was that like we're delivering a set number of creatives every month, right?
Yeah.
And our strategists sort of need some sort of guidance. They, obviously are checking motion, they're checking, Facebook Ad Manager, but that's going to not contain data about new concepts or like bigger swings. So having these sort of guardrails for our strategists to say, this is a persona we want to test this month. Like these are the USPs to utilize, and these are the angles to take with them, allows them to sort of not get overwhelmed with the paradox of choice and actually could really refine concepts on a monthly basis.
So that's a good point that you make there, actually, just around like these are the guardrails that your strategist can look at and go, well, yeah, you could literally endless amounts. So what are the data points that they're using? What's like, with AI, we've seen this, right? And you can see this across ChatGPT. If you just ask it a dumb question, you're going to get a dumb answer. Same with, I'm sure, with the Facebook AI. But then when you're creating personas, same idea. If you're, that old adage of shit in, shit out. Well, let's have a look at it in this point. What information are you putting in to guarantee or to at least give a good probability of getting a good persona that is actually going to start moving the needle?
Yeah, so we have refined our prompts a million times, but the biggest thing is just to reiterate to the model to not input any data from outside of the data that we're inputting, right? Okay. So like it is relying entirely on those reviews. It's relying entirely on those subreddit comments. And, moreover, with our motivators, values, and pain points, we say like, this is how many reviews speak to each motivation. And then we provide an example of an actual review, right? So like we are just synthesizing the data. And this is something we used to do pre-AI as well. It was just much more of a manual process, right? Yeah. We collect reviews, we try to find themes in it. But this has just allowed us to scale this portion of the business, at a much faster pace. And doing it, we've done, sort of the side-by-side test, the manual test versus the AI test, and always have landed on a very similar place. And what's often great is that like a lot of the personas that we find align with what the brand is anticipating. Like, oh, yeah, we know this is the persona we've wanted to test, which also builds trust. It anchors them and says like, okay, these guys know what they're doing. So then they can say like, okay, the remaining personas clearly are ones that we didn't know about and we should be focusing on. So having that overlap makes a big difference.
And so what are these prompts? Like no gatekeeping. What are these magical words to whisper to the machine?
So we upload all of this information and, we subscribe to a team, GPT, so we can upload as much as we want. And, we'll say like, based solely on the data I provided earlier and using no outside information, come up with 3 motivators and key values. We define motivators as desired outcomes or purchase prompts. Values are defined as unique benefits and advantages, delightful features, or deal breakers. Pain points are defined as issues that other competitors are likely facing that the clients are solving for. They should be positive, but they should not involve customer service or delivery. They should be succinct points about the brand. Do not, and then we reiterate again, do not use any outside information from the reviews provided for, insert brand here. There were X reviews in total. And then in your output, include how many reviews speak to that specific theme and include 1 review that best exemplifies the theme. There is no need for any additional analysis, just those 2 elements. Also, for the review provided, do not make something up. Only use the reviews I provided verbatim, as in pull one of the reviews I listed above, and then I provide an example of a past prompt or like a past output.
Wait, Will, tell me how much do you charge for this? Like how much like roughly do you charge for this?
Yeah, so we white label this to a few agencies that just like use this on a monthly basis to get new personas. But for all of our brands that we cover, it's just covered as our, within our monthly retainer. So even like our low end brands that are, paying us $1,500 a month for 4 creatives are receiving this analysis.
You're being too modest about this, guys. Will just gave you the formula for like. I could totally see this being packaged for like $10,000. Like, Tris, have you ever charged? Like, how much have you charged for this kind of work?
not for stuff like this, but this, I mean, realistically, this is where I'm trying. This is what I'm trying to dig into. I'm trying to understand with these personas. It's not just a persona, because brands have this idea where there's like, I have a mad persona. This is our ICP, and we're going after. Sorry, perfect customer, and they're going after that. But they forget that they have to make new and unique ways of actually coming up with new angles and hooks and everything else. And they're different personas that you're going after. So this really makes it a real life situation. It's like any, a company that has values that stick it up on the wall is like hungry and things like that. It's like, that doesn't mean anything. This is the same idea on personas, which is really interesting. I've never tried it like this. I'm really excited.
I've seen people charge $20,000 for this kind of stuff. Like I've seen an invoice for like $20,000 for this kind of stuff. Not even like people saying it. I've seen like an actual invoice.
Nice.
It's crazy. And like,
So tell me
sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, just getting away from the charging for this, what's really interesting on this is, how do you balance between results that are happening in the live kind of platform versus how your new idea is coming up, right? Because you've got to be iterative, but when does revolution become evolution and vice versa?
Great question. So we like to sort of think of those as two separate pillars, right? And in our medium package, which is 12 creators a month, we've actually built a model that we just call like the iteration tracker. And so our strategists are really focused on new concepts, right? They're looking at the new personas that they receive every month for top of funnel. And I should reiterate that if we start seeing a persona doing well, for example, like that camping angle, then we'll build a full funnel approach, right? We want to start top of funnel, ensure it's getting spend. And then if that's working, we'll do, the middle of funnel, social proof ad, and then we'll go bottom of funnel, statics, gifts, whatever. So that's sort of, one side of the business, right? And then we have what we call this iteration tracker. And so what that does is it plugs into your Facebook ad manager and it finds sort of the wounded birds, if you will. So these are ads that maybe have great ROAS. These are ads that have great CTR, maybe okay watch time, but have a very mediocre hook. So the model ranks everything with a letter grade. So it'll say ROAS A, CTR A, watch time B, and then it'll say thumbs up D. So the model will flag this and say, hey, this ad needs a new hook. So it'll automatically create a task within our backend, and it'll say to the strategist, here's the ad, here's the issue, and here's how to fix it. And so that's just on an ongoing basis that we're constantly iterating on these sort of wounded birds. Additionally, if we see performance creatives start facing creative fatigue, then the model will also sort of flag that and say, this ad has been performing really well, but ROAS has been dripping. Clearly it needs an iteration. Here's the ad, here's a recommendation. So it's really two sides of the same coin, right? The ads you're receiving on a monthly basis are either going to be, these persona top of funnel ads, or they're going to be, generally in the first few months, we're going to focus on evergreen, sort of those top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, approaches.
Gotcha.
And so you're using the AI personas to help guide the ad creation process. Let's talk about the actual production process. Are you using AI in the actual production process as well?
Negative. So so we have strategists and we have editors. Okay. And so AI is just our guide. I don't know if y'all have tried adcreative.ai, but it's just not there yet. I think. God. I thought I was the only one.
I was like, I'm behind. Okay.
No, yeah, it's just we're definitely keeping our finger on the pulse in terms of ad creatives. I think generating B-roll will be very helpful in the future. We obviously we subscribe to Storyblocks and Artlist.io, but being able to create more customizable B-roll for ads will be great. Okay. We've also started experimenting with UGC AI. We'll utilize ArcAds and Creatify. ArcAds is definitely a bit better than Creatify. Okay. And those are good, not great, but honestly and we've also found, I know we've talked, want to talk about creative performance as well, but we've found that opening up on a talking head generally stops, the thumb. So having the UGC ad, at least for the hook, has been very helpful. Also, the green screen educational sort of top of funnel ads perform exceedingly well, especially with a brand with a lot of nuance. or brands with not a lot of nuance. We work with Open Store, which is an aggregator. They have a handful of brands, and one of them is Jack Archer. And this is a company that is very similar to like True Classic, but it really leans into humor. And so we did this educational green screen ad with the UGC AI talking about like how tight pants will lower your fertility. And like we pull up studies and we have the UGC AI talking about like, this is the sperm you want, this is the sperm you don't want. And like just going over how wearing looser, more comfortable pants will just change the game for your relationship and your future offspring. So like that's where I see like UGC AI playing a big part, is like these more green screen educational sort of top of funnel ads.
Okay.
Yeah. Who said this podcast wasn't educational? Wear looser pants.
Yeah.
So I mean, guess like this sounds amazing, right? It sounds like next level. Sounds like things are really kind of taking that next level, not just through AI, but obviously the approach that you're taking, with your company in terms of showing how you not just creating creative to say, oh, this is a new idea, it's creating creative purposefully for unique people. I guess what are the common challenges that you see? Like, where does it go wrong?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I guess I should sort of zoom out for a moment and sort of talk about like how this really solidified. Is like I was at a conference, past year or two, I don't remember exactly when it was. And there's this panel and they were talking about how important personalization is in retention. And in retention, you have a lot of personalized metrics. Where folks are clicking. You can create, custom profile settings for your folks. And like, if you had 1 million people working for you, you could send a customized email to every person, right? And then I, raised my hand and asked the question, like, how are you coming up with personas for paid? And they're just saying that the response was, oh, we just have like weekly brainstorming sessions. And like, that was just like such a disconnect for me, because like he was talking and really validating the concept that like personalization is absolutely key for retention. And it's allowed him to scale his business and his company, his clients' businesses. But to just say you're doing a weekly brainstorming for paid, it just like felt like, how can you sort of have both going on at the same time? And so the idea behind sort of the AI personas is to, for our agency partners to just catalyze that conversation with creative strategists. And so again, like giving them guardrails. And so I know that's a bit of a sort of a tangent. And I don't know, Tris, could you just repeat your question if you wouldn't mind?
So, I mean, where does it go wrong? Like how does
yes.
With AI, I'm sure there's loads of opportunities to go off in this way. Not just with AI, with making personas and making creative. Where do you mess up? Well, not just you, but where does it go wrong?
Totally. I would say where it can go wrong is if you're testing new personas and they don't work. And that's when clients are like, we know it works. Like, we have these evergreen campaigns that you created for us, and why don't we just create more of those? And so that can be challenging, because especially with clients with lower budgets, they just want the same ad 1,000 times, just told a different way, because they're like, this is what lowers CPAs. This is what drives conversion. Why aren't we doing this? And so to say, we want to come in and test these 4 new personas entirely that you may not even think are relevant to your brand can be challenging, because the client may say, well, I don't think that this is our target persona, or like, I don't think that this person makes sense for our brand. But regardless, we always implore them to at least give it a shot, give it some spend. And, some of the time it works, some of the time it doesn't.
What do you do? Like, what do you do? You just tell them like, trust me? Like, trust me, I'm a lawyer. Like, trust me, I'm a doctor.
Yeah, it's generally a conversation of saying like, listen, we're just testing, this top of funnel concept. Like, there's not much budget going to it. There's limited risk.
Okay.
And if it works, then we build out a full funnel approach, and then you're going to start making a lot of money, right? But like, the risk is limited. And also, I should preface that I'm not a media buyer, but we recommend doing a CBO and an ASC, and to test all new creatives within a CBO, right? And so like, if you're doing a CBO test, you're not forcing any budget to any particular ad set. So like, if a new persona isn't working within the ad set, within the campaign, then you're not wasting any money, right? And so like, what's the risk of the test in the first place?
True. It's like testing of any description.
So for the soundbite, I want to know top 5 AI tools that you're using at the moment, excluding ChatGPT. Tell me, what are your top 5 go-to AI tools at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, 11 Labs, obviously. I think everyone is sort of all about that. It's essential. We've cloned founders' voices. We've been able to create so many more founder ads, using 11 Labs. Like, that's been excellent. Descript has been really helpful as well for our editors. Okay. And just peeling a green screen from the background, and also just transcribing and picking out sound bites for ads. We'll actually use sometimes Descript in conjunction with GPT. We'll get the transcription and then we'll optimize the ad in GPT. And then more recently, the ArcAds, Creatify combo for UGC AI, like that's been, very, very helpful. It allows us to create UGC AI sort of like that. And then GigaBrain, I mentioned earlier, that's sort of the web scraper for Reddit. And then finally, I think this is 5, Browse AI is our web scraping tool for collecting reviews and collecting Facebook comments. Oh, and I guess there's one more. Brandwise, I mentioned them earlier, and they're great for scraping Facebook comments.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. So it sounds to me like through all of that stuff there, original content it's a thing of a past, really. Got AI creating all this stuff, iterating all this stuff. A lot of the content actually being created sounds like it's down the toilet.
Yeah. So yes and no. Like, again, all of this is just helping us dictate strategy. Like, the only content we're creating with AI are the UGC AI personas. But like, at the end of the day, AI is helping us guide our strategists, but the strategists are still the ones that are really coming up with the scripts. They're the ones that are saying, this is a really funny hook, we should use this. So, it's a tool, it's a stepping stone. And we have a very large offshore team, and it's empowered our offshore team to become strategists at the same caliber to any US-based strategists in a matter of months. And that's been, a massive unlock. But yeah, in terms of the content itself, like, our strategists are still the ones that are going through, LucidLink or, Suite Studios or Google Drive, and they're still the ones that are picking out the clips that make the most sense for the ads. They're the ones that are maybe going to Storyblocks or Artlist.io and finding the B-roll for the clips, and like really just trying to take all of this information, make it succinct, and fit within the thesis that the AI is helping drive.
Gotcha. That's gives me a lot of heart to really make sure that we're not just throwing it into AI and that that's what it is. Like, there's actually some brains behind it as well, which is really nice to see. It's always encouraging.
All right, guys, we had Will on the Founders Forum today. We learned a ton of stuff, AI personas off the wall, the tools that you got to use, that you got to be using now. It was a lot, guys. My name's Edwin.
I'm Tris.
And I'm Will.
We'll see you on the next one.